check. Let's make sure it's all working. Okay. Kick is up, YouTube is up. Perfect. Chat's all set up. Activate source, activate source. Just find and activate automatically. All right, that should mean all the chats work now. Yes. Kick works. And just make sure YouTube also works. Perfect. Huh, the YouTube one's got the ad sign. All right. If I pause these, that doesn't change anything, right? All right, well, I'm going to continue today from what I was talking about yesterday. I want to look a little bit further into the Canadian political system. Chats here is all working. I'm going to go through some of those videos that we had looked at yesterday here. I also just want to cover some general or more recent topics. But let's get started. I also have this, which I'm going to keep up, which is just the circle of how it's supposed to all work. Okay, let's look at the legislature first. It's what's elected by the people.
General sense of the basics of the system, as well as how the different parts of the system relates to each other and overall structure of it. In other videos, I'm going to details on how each part of the system.
Okay, I'm probably still set to Overwatch in a few of these places. Let me fix that. Education, just chatting. Okay. Let's see if that got me into the right categories. Just chatting. Perfect. Canada's. I still don't even know how to check on YouTube. We'll just assume it's figured itself out. Yep. All right, here we go.
Works and elaborate on that. Now I'm going to just start and go over each of these pieces with a quick overview and some comments on how each of these institutions relate to each other. And this is, of course, very much informed by this entire map. And this way of thinking about politics is very much informed by systems theory. It's a very typical map in that sense, where we have At the bottom here, the people, they elect their representatives to the legislature, in this case to the House of Commons, and the House of Commons elects an executive, and the executive steers the administration, which produces.
So, from what I understand, the provincial system is set up largely in the same way. Um, they don't call it the House of Commons, but they elect a premier, which also does the cabinet, and they do the administration, and it's the same circle. We're going to learn about it at the federal level.
Output, social services, and policy that affects the people, and the people can then evaluate that. So it goes in the circle. That's the general sense of how it should function. Now, this map here will tell a practiced observer that we're talking about a parliamentarian system because of the dependency of the executive on the legislature. If the executive can't maintain the confidence of the legislature, it will have to go. And that can be contrasted to presidential systems, for instance, in the United States, where the executive can remain in office regardless of the legislature and its attitude towards the executive. So here in Canada, if the executive can't get a budget bill passed, there will be a new election or at least a new executive. The government will fall, and most likely the government.
As far as I understand, like the legislature can also just change the executive. Like it's not like it's permanently set. Like we saw this going into the last election, where Trudeau was essentially ousted and then replaced by Mark Carney before the election, and then his polls did well, and they did an election early because of
Governor
that.
General will want to see a new election coming. But that's not what would happen in the United States. So let's go over each of these pieces one by one really fast.
Okay,
First,
that's what we're
of
waiting for.
course, the people, and here I'm going to focus mostly on political parties and how.
I'm supposed to talk about the. I'm looking at the wrong thing, am I? We wanna go deeper dive. That's the overview. Let's look at our
This
elections.
video is part of the series on the Canadian political system. And in
Okay,
this
yeah.
one, I am going to focus on this area, which connects the people most directly to the legislature, namely elections.
Okay. Zoom way in.
And I'm going to talk about basic properties of the electoral system. I'm going to talk about campaigns on the national and local level and election funding. And I will finish with some words on political participation and turnout and such. First of all, then, basic properties of this electoral system. It is a first past the post system, which means that each riding, each constituency, each district is a single member. So there is a single person who will win the election in that constituency and be sent to parliament. The winner, the member of parliament, has a maximum of 5 years in term, depending on whether the prime minister wants to trigger an election earlier or not. And the first past the post system does have some properties that has given rise to quite a few rounds of critique. One being false majorities. The winning party tends to be overrepresented, which can produce a majority in parliament, and that majority, of course, is important to retain the confidence to get bills passed and so on. That also means that other parties tend to be underrepresented. Regional parties can also become overrepresented, and a good historical example of that is the Bloc Québécois that managed to tap into the regional support in Quebec for representation. Parties with diffuse support, on the other hand, diffuse support across the entire country, tends to be underrepresented.
Yeah, because the system is set up so that each district sends a single individual. You need to be the most popular in a specific district to get any political power. So even if you could, let's say, get like a small amount of votes, but in a lot of districts across the country, you could get like 5% of total votes. If you don't get a majority in any specific district, you don't get any political power at all. They said the Green Party is one. They have, I think, one seat right now.
So
Oh,
this
let's
is the
continue.
Greens are an excellent example of that. They are popular all over the
This also makes it really hard for like another party to try to like enter into the politics because you need to get majority somewhere, or not a majority, but the most votes in a district to have a member sent to the parliament.
country. They have supporters all over the country, but they are spread out between ridings, which means that they're unlikely to win any single riding. That means that even though they can poll fairly decent numbers in terms of popular support, they very rarely have a chance at actually sending someone to the House of Commons.
Yes, they got exactly one member right now. Actually, can I look that up? Go to Grok. Chat. In Canada, what percentage of votes did the Green Party get? I'll figure it out with that. Back to it in a second.
So that's a source of frustration for their supporters. It also means that that it's prudent for political parties to ignore certain regions of the country if they feel that they don't have a chance to win in a riding. There is no reason for them to spend time doing campaigning there.
Like this also happens in the US where they spend a lot of time campaigning in swing states. We have something similar in Canada where if like you're not going to get a district because it's just been conservative so long that you have no chance, then there's no point even taking into consideration that district or campaigning for that district. All right, let's see. The most recent party received 1.22. The popular vote, winning one seat. I mean, there's 300 and something seats, right? So percentage wise, you'd have more than one, but that's just how this system's currently set up.
Another reason why this system has been critiqued is the phenomenon of wasted votes, where voter goes to the ballot box and votes for a candidate that does not win. Then that voter probably feels that the vote has been wasted, and this can give rise to a sense of alienation within.
Isn't that the whole point of politics? Like, you vote, one person wins, other people lose. Like, I do get it that like they have this issue in the US too. Like, if you don't vote for one of the two parties, you're wasting a vote. Because unless the party has a chance to grab the most votes in a district, um, it's just kind of like throwing the vote away. And so that never feels good in any system.
The voter and the sense of not feeling represented by the politician that is ostensibly represents the writing. So to remedy this, there have been quite a few rounds of talks about electoral reform in the country, where proportional representation, so
That is what we need.
PR, is set up as an alternative. The goal with this electoral system is to have the party's share of seats after elections match its share of the popular vote
PR, what does that stand for?
more closely, because that is experienced. So say the advocates of this, that is a more fair outcome than what first past the post system would produce. Even though no substantial attempt has been done on the national level to change electoral system yet, there have been some attempts on local level or regional level. For instance, BC had a discussion about changing the electoral system on provincial level, which failed ultimately, but was very close to succeeding. And the system that was discussed there was so-called MMP, mixed member plurality, which exists in New Zealand, another former British colony that is built on the Westminster system. So there actually was a change from first past the post to something more proportional. Anyone who's interested?
Let me write some of these down because that's something I'd like to look into later. Alternative. Let's see, we have PR, which I don't think he ever said what it was. MMP. New Zealand uses that. And let's see what he says with the last
In
one.
an electoral reform, I'd encourage using New Zealand, exploring the New Zealand example to see how that can work and what possible differences and similarities there might be between Canada and New Zealand. Moving on to campaigns. A campaign will take place on both the national. Moving on to.
I'm gonna write the last one down too. Provincial ballot.
Campaigns. A campaign will take place on both the national and the local level. Political parties will prepare in all sorts of various ways and plan their strategy. They have to think about budgets because, of course, an electoral campaign costs a lot of money. They have to think about fundraising and how to pay for that campaign. They have to have candidates in all the ridings and decide where candidates should be running. And of course, one strategy has been sometimes to put candidates that are not seen as winners in ridings where the party doesn't expect to win. This is actually an issue for female candidates who are often put in ridings where the party don't think that they can win. So then the party says that they do have female candidates, but because of how candidates are selected and so on, the candidate actually can't win that place, and thus you.
Hey, the message shut it up properly. Right, it's all working. What was add?
Get this situation in the House of Commons where female parliamentarians are underrepresented compared to their male counterparts. There's also, of course, the whole issue of the logistics, organizational staffing, or preparation. The strategy itself is coordinated nationally. There has to be a party platform, policies, promises, priorities. All that has to. Every candidate across the country has to stay on message, and the party leader will tour across the country and target key areas where the race is.
Then do you not need to like live in the area that you're essentially campaigning for? They said that they'd move female candidates around. Um, well, let me have a look. In the Canadian federal election, do you have to live in the district that you're campaigning to be an MP for? Election, if the district you're campaigning to be an MP for. All right. Let's let it think.
And the party leader will tour across the country and target key areas where the race is close, but there's a chance of winning, and to create publicity and photo ops. And these are really meant very symbolic to produce the idea, the image that the party leader is in touch with the Canadian public in all walks of life. Of course, this in reality, the leader has very little knowledge of these writings because it's a 1 hour stop or 2 hour stop. So in reality, all this could have been done in front of a green screen instead of the consider.
This reminds me of when Mark Carney did his essentially a publicity thing in front of like a temporary housing complex. And he got torn apart for it because people went there and then it was like showing houses in the background and they were all like temporary things. So when people went there, there was like no houses anywhere. All right, let's see what it said. No, in Canada's federal elections, you do not have to live in the electoral district riding where you are running to become an MP. So then you can just run in any of them. Okay. This is explicitly stated on the official Election Canada's website in their guide for candidates. May run as a federal candidate in only one electoral district at a time. Oh, so you can't just spam them all. However, you do not have to live in the electoral district where you are running. That seems weird. Like voting for an elector that's like not from your district, isn't that the whole point of having the districts for the federal system? To elect someone from there that represents there. I wonder what if this is the provincial. I'll ask that after. Only residential rule for candidates is that you must be a Canadian resident. Yeah, yeah. You cannot run in more than one riding. Quick summary of basic. And okay, okay. In the provincial election, do you have to live in the district that you're campaigning for? Let's see. How long is this going to take? Provincial. Oh, vary by province. It's going to check Alberta for me. I'll let it think.
Considerable expense in monies and carbon fuel exhausts to go all across the country. But it does create an image that the parties are very keen on upholding. So that's why the tradition goes on. Media, of course, plays a key role in this. Parties want a positive media coverage, and therefore you will find that the parties have a staff who know media and media strategy very well. This is the role of spin or political marketing, both in terms of advertising, which is regulated through the election acts, what can be done and how it can be paid for, and so on, how much each party can access in terms of advertising time, but also in terms of the televised leader debates, which are really the prime time of the entire election because it has such a outreach into the public. So that this is always a special focus. The local campaign is also important, of course, which begins with a candidate nomination. And here the party elite can be very important. The party leader does have the power to veto representation in local ridings and will do so if there is a feeling that the local candidate isn't towing the party line sufficiently.
So the leader gets to choose the MPs, but the leader is elected by the MPs to lead the party. Okay, I kind of see that. Let's see. In the provincial election, no. To become a member in the Legislative Assembly, which is the provincial House of Commons, essentially. Member of the Legislative Assembly, you do not have to live in the specific electoral divisions where you are campaigning or running. Like, why do we do it this way if you don't actually have to be from there? Like, when they were listing out the other forms, the MMP or PR or preferential ballots, like, the whole thing about the riding system is that you get a representation from there. You don't have to be from there. Ah, that feels weird. I assume to be a counselor at the municipal level, you have to be from there. Like, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check that because I got a no and a no. In the Canadian government, to be a counselor at the municipal level, do you have to be from that district? Well, we'll see. We'll see what it gets.
Once the party elite is satisfied, the team is assembled to organize and manage this candidate's individual campaign, and this will be through a mix of both paid staff and volunteers, through social media and a personal website, and a lot of canvassing, of course, and those lawn signs and so on. And this local candidate will have to try and satisfy voter needs and what is currently uh, expressed as popular within the local riding, while at the same time towing the party line and defending that consistently. So even at the start here in the local campaign, there's a tension between being the trustee of the local constituency and being loyal to the party, because
So the local constituency that you don't actually have to be from. You just have to make them think you're from. It's still so weird.
party loyalty and party discipline is an important part of the Westminster system. Um,
Let's see the municipal. What did it give us? Oh no! In Alberta, the rule for running as a municipal councillor depends on the type of municipality and whether it uses wards. Key rule: you must be eligible to vote in the election and have been a resident of the local jurisdiction in the ward. So that tells me yes, for the 6 consecutive months immediately preceding nomination day. So then why is this one telling me now? No, there is no official fall under, oh, they fall under provincial or territorial jurisdictions. In Alberta, yes, you generally must live in the specific ward. Okay. So at least at the municipal level, these are people from your community. But they don't have to be in the provincial or the federal. Okay, I like this one more.
Election funding is regulated in Canada. The country didn't have any effective laws about this for quite a long time, but there were some scandals that changed that, and legislation was passed in 1974 to regulate spending. The objectives then of the federal election finance law was to increase equity, transparency, and participation in electoral systems, with four basic provisions: a ceiling on national party and candidate expenditure, disclosure for contributions over $100, and income tax credit given to contributors, and also some subsidizing of public funds to political parties depending on voter support. Introducing
Something down to. So I know this is something in the US they have a huge issue with like PACs and super PACs and dark money, and essentially money taking over politics. And I want to see how that translates to the Canadian system. Actually, you know what? Let's just ask. In the US, I hear a lot about PACs and super PACs and dark money. How is this set up in the Canadian system? Do these things exist? So let's see what we get. we'll let it cook there.
uh, such such regulation on what how large sums can be contributed directly to a political party, and thus how much funding a political party has access to, uh, meant that parties took steps to circumvent the legislation in some ways. And this is fairly easily done. All you have to do, instead of paying for your own ad, you can have a third party,
Like sent contributions in $99.99 bundles.
someone who is allied to the party but isn't the political party, do the spending instead. And this type of advertising grew in the 1980s, and that created another reaction to legislate the limit and limit the amount that third parties could spend on election advertising. These are still activities engaged during the election. It's quite clear because we had 55 third parties registered for advertising in the 2011 election. There have been new legislation introduced over the last decade. So you have the 2004 legislation about corporate union and individual donations, and the Harper government's elimination of corporate and union donations with the Federal Accountability Act. So this is, in short, an area that has been up for debate since the 70s, and governments will keep addressing the issue of election funding. Finally, a note on political participation. We can talk about two.
We're gonna read before we look into that. Let me just check my stream. Everything is going well. Okay, everything's still up and working. All right, let's have a look. Ooh, wrote a lot this time. No, Canada does not have PACs or super PACs like in the US, and dark money, undisclosed large-scale spending by anonymous donors is largely prevented at the federal level. The Canadian system is built around strict contribution limits, bans on corporate/union donations to parties/candidates, spending caps, and heavy regulation of third parties. The closest equivalent to outside groups. Everything is designed to avoid the unlimited independent expenditure and secret funding that Citizens United enables in the US. Federal level. Direct donations to parties and candidates. Only Canadian citizens or permanent residents can donate. They have an annual limit of $1,775 per person to a single party, and the same to leadership or independent candidates. Corporates, unions, associates, and foreign entities are completely banned from donating to parties or candidates. So is this why our elections look so much less funded than the American elections? Like, my dad had cable. He had one of those antenna things set up, and he would get channels from across the lake into the US, and like the US is bombarded with political ads, like just political attack ads continuously. And you don't see nearly so much of that here. And I'm assuming it's because they just have a lot less money to do it, because it looks like only citizens or permanent residents can even give money. There's a limit. Corporations, unions are completely banned from donating. Like, I like that. That's good. The further you can keep money out of politics, the better. Third parties, interest groups, unions, corporates, NGOs, or even individuals running ads. These are the only real outlets for outside spending. They can run partisan ads or activities supporting less opposing parties or candidates. Okay, that's just a lot of. The provincial level here. Alberta is more permissive than the federal rules. Uh-oh. corporations and Alberta-based unions can donate to parties, candidates, and third-party advertisers up to 5,000 per year. I mean, like, as long as there's a reasonable limit, right? It's when it's not disclosed that they can benefit. Like, you hear about the big tech companies paying millions to Trump to like help out with his ballroom and stuff like that. Meanwhile, corporations can only give 5,000 a year in Alberta. Third-party advertisers must register and follow spending disclosure rules during elections, but they have fewer restrictions on who can fund them. Donations over 250 are published online. Even here, there are no true super PACs. Outside groups still face restriction, contribution caps in most cases, and reporting. Dark money is minimal because large donors must disclose. That's something you need. Municipal elections have their own third-party advertising rules with even stricter per advertising contribution caps and no corporate/union donations in many cases. So, bottom line, Canada's system is one of the strictest in the Western world on limiting big money in politics, especially federally. There is no equivalent to super PACs that can raise and spend unlimited undisclosed funds independently. Third parties exist and can influence campaigns, but they operate under tight, transparent rules that US reformers often cite as a model the US could have had. If you want the exact spending caps, I don't care about that. All right, well, it seems that we're doing a pretty good job there. Like money in politics is one of those dangerous things. Okay. I had another question, but I think it answered it mostly here. Let's go back to where we were.
Forms. This is about turnout and so on. Participating politically is not just putting a ballot in a box. There are many other ways of doing it. So this is non-electoral participation, which also happens during elections. So people can volunteer in advocacy groups or participate in demonstrations or sign petitions or volunteer for a political party. And all of these will happen during an election campaign because it's a particular flashpoint in politics where TV cameras are more available, when the public consciousness about politics is raised. So it's an excellent time for every stakeholder in politics to try to get their message across and try to influence political parties and decision makers. So all of this form of participation will also increase during elections. But the most common form of participation, certainly electoral participation, is
Voting,
voting.
obviously.
This has in fact decreased. Turnout to elections have decreased
Really?
since 1988. And that's not just
What was the turnout in the last Canadian election, and how does that compare to years prior?
in Canada, but in all democracies. And that's not just in Canada, it's even in countries with proportional representation. We see an overall decrease in all democracies in voter turnout, but countries with first past the post type of systems had lower electoral turnout to begin with than proportional representation countries had. So the decrease in
Proportional representation. That is the PR he was talking about. Proportional representation. Close enough.
countries like Canada or the United States have actually led to even lower participation rates, so 60s and so on, 60% turnouts and so on.
Let me have a look. And the most recent Canadian federal election, the 45th general election on April. Okay, voter turnout was 69%. Like, I mean, I think that's pretty good. There's some people that'll just you'll never be able to get into politics. That equates to just under 20 million ballots cast of 28 million registered electors. These are the final official figures released by Elections Canada. This was a significant jump and the highest turnout in more than 30 years. Well, I mean, gotta, definitely because of Trump pushing everyone more into politics. It did not break the all-time modern record of 79, 1958. It reversed the recent downward trend, so politics is becoming more popular. 69, 62, 67. I mean, like, I think those are pretty good. I mean, that's lower. I think those are pretty good voter turnouts. I mean, when everything's going fine, you just have less people showing up for voting.
And there is quite a bit of concern about what, in international perspective, is actually fairly low turnout rates and participation rates and how to turn that trend. There's a whole set of factors influencing how a voter that actually turns up at the ballot box will vote. There is socio-demographic characteristics, as much as we would like to believe in the rational voter who makes an deeply informed decision. The position of our parents and what we were taught by them, and the social position and conditions that we have been brought up in, is very often a good indicator of how we will vote. People from the upper class tend to vote more right. People from the lower class tend to vote more left.
Let me hear that again.
Indicator of how we will vote. People from the upper class tend to vote more right. People from the lower class tend to vote more left.
Really? I mean, I guess I see that. Hmm. I don't know about that. But I think Trump might just be turning things on its head because he's not typical Republican down in the US. Because didn't he do really well with like young men? I mean, I guess these are all generalities, right?
This is not deterministic, but it's a fairly good indicator, generally speaking. There's also core beliefs and values, and of course, political parties are even organized very much on values: conservatism, liberalism, socialism, and so on. Party identification is also important. How loyal a person is to a political party will have an importance, even if the party changes its stance on some things, and then sometimes maybe is promising things that might not correspond to core beliefs and values. A person who is deeply loyal to the party will keep voting and supporting that party, even though the platform might not look the same as it did 10 years previously. Other people who are not as loyal to the party might decide that change was enough to switch support to some other party. Current issues and economic
You should always be a swing voter because they're the people that the parties try to capture with their policies. Gotta be willing to switch and vote for one side or the other.
performance should never be discounted, particularly when the economic times are bad. The government's record, this is something that can also come into play. And if you listen to how governments talk, they tend particularly if they've been in power for a long time, actually tend to play up their record over their values sometimes. The Liberal government, after being in power for a decade, would have run on in saying, we're excellent managers of government affairs. We have 10 years of experience of this, and therefore you should re-elect us because we know how to manage a government and the opposition does not. They are incompetent klutzes and they will just make a mess of the whole thing. So stay with us. We are tried and tested. Of course, you will hear similar things from the current government when election times come. They will also discuss their long experience
I
of
mean, these are all
managing government
just,
affairs and so on. The impact of party leaders. So the Liberal Party sought a new leader with stronger leadership skills and more charisma. Even though parties, you really like Party 3, but you keep the worst option from winning in your
so
riding.
basically everything
That's
affects
called
voters'
strategic voting, and it's
decisions.
vote
Yeah.
that happens more often in first past the post voting than in proportional
Yeah,
representation.
that's different for every person what you choose to vote on there. Okay, well, I see that's about the end of that video. We gotta learn about Constitution. Before that, I wanted to ask another question here. In the Canadian system, what does the federal government, provincial government, and municipal government control? And how does this relate to each other? All right. We'll see what that comes up. So the Canadian Constitution, where is this? In here. So we have the legislature, which is the House of Commons. He didn't talk about the Senate. What is the Senate? Oh, I already got it working on a question for me. All right, here we go. Okay, Canada operates as a federal system with three distinct levels. Okay, yep. Federal government. Parliament of Canada controls national and international matters that affect the whole country. Key exclusive powers. Peace, order, and good governance clause. Okay. Criminal law and procedure. National defense and security, foreign affairs, treaties and international trade, banking, currency and monetary policy, immigration and citizenship, federal taxation, postal service, telecommunications and broadcasting, fisheries. Fisheries seems like they'd be municipal. Navigation and interprovincial transportation, patent, copyright, and intellectual property, indigenous affairs and reserves. So, from what I understand, the provincial system in Canada has a lot more power than the state system does in the US. But like this seems like fairly common for what your federal government should control. We'll have to compare that when we look at the US system. Provincial government. Okay. Control regional and local matters within their borders. Provinces are co-equal with the federal government in their own spheres. The main areas: education, healthcare, and hospitals, property and civil rights. That's at the provincial level? Does that mean that your civil rights can change from province to province. Let's write that down. Okay, municipal institutions. Yep, natural resources, forestry, and non-renewable energy. Like, why isn't fisheries here? Highways, roads, and intra-provincial transportation. Between the provinces, within the province. Okay. Administration of justice. Provincial courts, okay. Direct taxation for provincial purposes. Liquor control. Gaming and certain licensing. Some areas are concurrent slash shared. Aggregate. Agriculture, old age pension, immigration. Oh, okay. Municipal governments, typical responsibilities, local roads, sidewalks and transit, water, sewer, and waste management, zoning, problem. I really think zoning should be moved up a little bit because at the municipal level, zoning can cause a lot of issues. I mean, everyone who owns a house wants their house to go up in value, so they don't want more um, residential zoning. So prevents people from being able to build homes. That's causing a problem. Land use planning, building permits, okay. Fire protection, police, emergency services, parks, recreation, libraries, community facilities, property taxes, some local licensing. How the three levels relate to each other. Federal and provincials, co-equal and independent in their constitutional spheres. They cooperate heavily through federal transfers. Canadian health transfer, Canadian social transfer. That provinces uses for health and education. So these are like the federal government collecting the money and then giving the money through a transfer to the province to do a specific task, right? Regular first ministers meetings and intergovernment agreements. Okay. Provincial and municipal, strictly hierarchical. Municipalities can only do what the province explicitly allows. So the province sets the rules for the municipal. Provinces set the rules for the municipal elections, financing, taxation powers, and boundaries. Many provincial responsibilities are actually derived by municipalities under provincial oversight. Are actually delivered, sorry, by municipalities under. So the responsibilities are delivered by the municipality. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Your your health care and social services are going to be local, after all. All right, federal, municipal, almost no direct relationship constitutionally. The federal government cannot give orders to a city or town. Funding often flows indirectly. Federal money, province, municipality, or through specific programs. Practice, big cities sometimes lobby Ottawa directly, but legally everything still goes through the province. Quick real world examples: healthcare, provincial with federal funding. National defense, federal only. Your property taxes and garbage pickup, municipal. criminal law, federal, enforced locally, zoning for new housing development, municipal, but subject to provincial overrides if needed. The structure has remained stable since 1867 with minor updates. Okay, what was the question I wanted to ask? Civil rights. If civil rights are provincial, does that mean that the civil rights change from province to province in Canada? Where was I? I was gonna start this. I want to look at that. We'll let it think here. I don't want to move on until I get the answer to this. Let's have a look. Make sure stream is still functioning properly. Oh, it's talking. Here we go. No, not for fundamental civil rights and freedoms that most people think of today, but yes, for many civil rights in the older constitutional sense. Okay, let's see. The constitutional terms property and civil rights. What I reference is provincial. This gives provinces exclusive powers over private law matters such as contracts, property ownership and real estate rules, torts, civil wrongs like negligence, most family law, business and commercial transactions within the province. These do not change from province to province. Modern civil rights / human rights and freedoms, what the Charter protects. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, part of the Constitution. Well, I mean, that's what we're going to be looking into next. Since 1982, applies uniformly to every province and territory. Okay, so the human rights, now that applies to everything. The federal government, it binds the federal government, every provincial legislature and government. Core rights that are identical everywhere in Canada include freedom of speech, religion, assembly, and association, right to vote and run for office, right to life, liberty, and security of the person, protection against unreasonable search and seizure or arbitrary detention, equality rights, no discrimination based on race, sex, age, disability, right to a fair trial and presumption of innocence. No province can pass a law that violates these. Provincial human rights codes, the practical layer. Each province has its own Human Rights Act / code that protects you in everyday private situations. Jobs, housing, stores, schools, doctors. These are very similar across Canada, but have small differences in extra protected grounds. Okay, enforcement process. I mean, that makes sense. Unique extras. Quebec protects language and civil status. Nova Scotia has disfigurement. Alberta does not list criminal record as a separate group in the same way some others do. These codes cannot contradict the Charter. They only add protections. Bottom line for you in Alberta. Fundamental rights are exactly the same as someone in Ontario. Rules about buying a house, writing a contract, or dividing property in a divorce will differ from other provinces. So that's what it means when it says like provinces can change the civil rights. If you face discrimination at work or in housing, you use the Alberta Human Rights Act, which is strong and very similar to most other provinces, with only minor wording differences. Okay, okay, that all makes sense to me. What? There's one other thing I wanted to ask before we move on. What is the Canadian Senate and how does it function? So, based off, where is it? This, can't really see it, but the legislature, the House of Commons is what you elect. And then the Senate, we haven't really talked about it all. I guess we were just talking about the election. Maybe he gets into this later. Oh, of course. Of course that's gonna happen. I will continue to use the AI tools for free. Let's see how Claude does for us. Change any of these things. Extended thinking. I like that. The Canadian Senate is the upper house of Canada's bicameral parliament, sitting alongside the House of Commons and the Crown to form the country's federal legislature. Composition: the Senate consists of 105 senators appointed to represent Canada's regions, 24 each for Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritime provinces in Western Canada, plus a smaller number. Okay, but like, okay, role and function. Here we go. Senate's primary job is sober second thought. Review legislation passed by the elected House of Commons. Its main functions include legislative review, committee work, introduce. Okay, how are they appointed? For most of Canada's senators were chosen on explicit partisan lines by the governing prime minister. This fueled long-running criticism about the Senate's democratic legitimately since 2016. Prime ministers have used independent advisory boards to recommend nonpartisan appointees. Majority of senators now sit as independents rather than in party caucuses. I like that. Though the chamber appointed nature remains controversial, with some provinces and parties advocating reform or abolition. Limits on powers: the Senate is constitutionally subordinate to the Commons in practice. While it theoretically has near equal legislative powers, constitutional conventions and democratic norms mean senators generally defer to elected MPs on matters of confidence and controversial policy. Outright defeating government legislation is rare and considered a serious step. In short, the Senate functions as a revising chamber, adding deliberative depth to the legislative process without replacing the democratic primacy of the elected House of Commons. So they're not elected at all. But it doesn't seem like they really have all that much power. So are these like the professional legislatures, essentially? Like you have the people you elect who like know how to write laws and stuff. I don't know. I assume we'll hear more about that when we look at this section. But we've done the election. We're going to do the Constitution. And then I'm probably going to play games for a little bit. And we'll do the rest another day. All right. Let's see what the Constitution
This video
says.
on the Canadian political system focuses on the Constitution of
Ooh, I didn't have sound for too long.
course, being the regulatory framework that governs how the different institutions and the different levels of government relate to each other, and of course also what types of rights that Canadian citizens have in relation to these bodies of governance. I will, in this video, talk about its composition, the role of the Supreme Court, and then I'm going to discuss how politics has revolved around the issues of the Constitution, this legislative framework for governance in Canada, and what the constitutional debates have primarily been about in Canadian politics. So, first of all, then, the Canadian Constitution is composed of several different aspects. First of all, a series of formal written documents, the first being the first one directly concerning Canada being the British North America Act, the BNA Act of 1867. This act created the Dominion of Canada and laid out the basic rules and institutions of government.
So the British North American Act, 1867, created the Dominion of Canada. So before that was we were broken up into like Upper and Lower Canada, like Newfoundland and the Hudson Bay Company. Or are they added later?
And in this text, it was stated that the governing of Canada should, for all intents and purposes, be done in accordance with the principles governing the United Kingdom. In essence, Canada was very much a copy of British governance at the time. Of course, since then, it has been amended numerous times to address changing political needs and the unique reflect the unique Canadian experience. In that sense, it is its own legislative framework now. And in 1982, it was renamed as the Constitution Act. And that was a landmark moment because it terminated British authority over Canada. And it did so by adding an amendment formula to the Constitution, which allowed the Canadian government and the Canadian government, if we think about federal and provincial governments, to amend the constitution of the land without consulting the United Kingdom.
I think
Before 1982, any constitutional amendment had to be approved by the British government as well. It also
so from what I understand, like we still have the representative of the crown that like signs things into law in the executive here. But like it's mostly just like a formal position that doesn't really have any power other than just like signing. But it seems like before 1982, all the laws, despite being like a Dominion of Canada, a lot of legislation still had to be passed by the crown. Like that's not that long ago. 1982.
included the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and added that to the Constitution. And that charter,
I mean, we looked at that a little earlier. Some of the important parts of that. It's an important part.
has been very important, particularly for the role of the Supreme Court. The post-charter era has been the subject of much constitutional debate since 1982, precisely because of how scholars discuss to what extent the charter might have changed the nature of the Supreme Court in this set of governing bodies. So those are the primary formal written documents. There are also British statutes and orders in council, particularly the Statute of Westminster. And finally, there are constitutional conventions. So not only did Canada import a series of statutes and the principle of governance from the United Kingdom, it also imported the tradition of having unwritten rules inform the constitutionalized practices of government. The United Kingdom is quite interesting and unique in that sense that it actually does not have a written constitution. Its constitution is unwritten. And Canada, while Canada does have at least partially a written constitution in the form of these documents and so on, it also has incorporated some of this practice of having unwritten rules that regulate the behavior. These are binding rules, possibly unenforceable by the courts, but they do matter for how government is done. And that's the
Then aren't those just traditions then? Like unbinding rules? So the UK doesn't have like a constitution at all? That's written down? Let me look here. Does the UK have a constitution?
Right.
Okay, okay. I don't want you reading it to me. Right, so this is a bit of a trick question, really. The UK does have a constitution, but it's not written down in a single. Most countries have. Instead, written constitution is what's called unwritten or uncodified. It's made up of a patchwork of things. Acts of Parliament, common law precedents, historical conventions, and political traditions that have built up over centuries. Key bits are scattered across documents. So they just don't have it written out the same way. But they essentially have the same thing. How do I get this to stop talking when I ask it something? I'll deal with that later.
basic composition of the Canadian Constitution. The Supreme Court being the body of governance that enforces and guards the Constitution and interprets it. The judicial decisions have influenced Canada's Constitution, particularly some decisions made before 1949 and after 1982. Now, this is a landmark year here. Some scholars say that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms have changed the nature of the Supreme Court in a fundamental way. Some would even say in a way that deviates from British traditions in
I mean that would make sense. Like you're making the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms for Canada. Laws change, based on the group of people that are there. This is what happens.
and thus from the Canadian traditions in a way that is quite fundamental break from how the Supreme Court operated before 1982. They would argue that the Supreme Court has been turned into an activist court that is much more politicized than it was before because it suddenly has
That's never good. Like, how are in Canada? How many Supreme Court judges are there, and how are they chosen?
Canada has 9 Supreme Court justices, and they're appointed by the Governor General.
Okay. I'm gonna read that out because that was bad. Canada has 9 Supreme Court justices, and they are appointed by the Governor General on the advice of the Prime Minister. So the Governor General is a member of the cabinet, right? Governor General is basically chosen by the Prime Minister. I'll ask that next. There's no election or confirmation vote like in the States. It's purely an executive appointment. The justices serve until mandatory retirement age of 75. They have retirement age. Thank goodness. Perfect. Traditional, like in the US, like I remember hearing about some of the judges where um, they got so old that their staff would essentially vote on things for them based off how they voted in the past. If anything, I think that should be a little bit lower, but at least there is a mandatory retirement age. Traditionally, the appointments have followed a regional formula: 3 from Quebec, 3 from Ontario, 3 from the rest of Canada, which ensures some geographic balance on the bench. Is the Governor General a member of the Cabinet? Oh, no. Who is the Governor General in Canada and how does he get his position?
Let me check the current Governor General for you. The current Governor General is Mary Simon, who was sworn in back in 2021. She's the first Indigenous person to hold the position, which was quite significant. As for how they're chosen, the Prime Minister recommends someone to the Crown, and the Governor General is then formally appointed. There's no public election or parliamentary vote. It's essentially a vice-regal appointment that reflects the PM's judgment.
So they're not directly chosen by the Prime Minister, but they're pretty much, oh, it's still talking. So they're not directly appointed by the Prime Minister, but they're basically appointed. Because they have to put the person forward for it. So pretty directly, the Prime Minister is choosing the members of the Supreme Court, the 9 members of the Supreme Court. Okay. And they serve until 75.
Jurisdiction over a series of social issues that it didn't have before. Those social issues then, so argues the critics, should by right belong to Parliament to decide through democracy and the will of the majority. Others argue that there is in fact precedent for the Supreme Court acting in these areas, but regardless of who is right in this, it's clear that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms added aspects to the Constitution that weren't there before, and the debate about the effects of the Charter is not likely to go away anytime soon. It's noteworthy here, too, that in the US, the Supreme Court of the United States has judicial review and can strike down laws passed by the legislature, and that the practice in the United States is that when the Supreme Court has said its opinion on a matter, the debate ends. They strike it down, and that's it. In Canada, the Supreme Court also has a measure of judicial review, but the relationship towards the executive and parliament is slightly different in the sense that there tends to be more of a dialogue between the Supreme Court and the executive. A case comes before the Supreme Court, it issues a statement about the constitutionality of the law that is being scrutinized, and it could say that a law is not conforming to the Constitution and they can strike this law down. But that doesn't necessarily end the political process. There is a dialogue there saying that the Supreme Court can be satisfied if certain terms are accepted. This is not to suggest that the Supreme Court and the executive is working together. The relationship is more described as a bit more of a back and forth between the legislating bodies in Canada than one would see in the United States.
So then, like, it doesn't have the supreme authority like in the US. It more enters a dialogue with the elected body about certain decisions, more focused on the constitutionality of the laws. Okay.
So, an overview of the matters of constitutional change in Canada. I've divided it into several eras here before 1960, and then the 70s and 80s, moving on to the Meech Lake Accord, Charlottetown Accord, and the situation post Charlottetown. Before 1960, then, the major constitutional debates revolved around territorial integrity, autonomy from Britain, which of course had to do with this issue of the Canadian government not being able to make amendments to the Canadian Constitution.
All right, I don't really care about all that. Do we get to see what I want to know what's in the Constitution, not like the changes that it's done over time. The rest of this video is just how it's changed. Okay. Let's go Chat GPT. Can you give me an overview of the Canadian Constitution? As a set of laws and principles that define how Canada is governed. It lays out the structure of government, the division of powers, and the rights of citizens. Unlike some countries, Canada's constitution isn't a single document. It's a combination of written laws, court decisions, and tradition. Okay. Core components. Constitutional Act, originally called the British North America Act. Created Canada as a country in 1867. Established a federal system split between federal and provincial governments, parliament, the House of Commons and the Senate, the roles of the Prime Minister and Governor General. Divides powers, defense, trade, criminal law. Okay, Constitution Act. Brought the Constitution fully under Canada's control. No longer needs approval from Britain in 1982. Added the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Ask about. Oh, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This is one of the most important parts today. It guarantees fundamental rights like freedom of expression, religion, and assembly, democratic rights, voting, running for office, mobility rights, live, work anywhere in Canada, legal rights, fair trial, protection from unreasonable search and seizures, equality rights, no discrimination. Rights are not absolute. They can be limited under Section 1 if the limits are reasonable. There's also Section 1 if the limits are reasonable. There's also the notwithstanding clause, Section 33, which allows governments to override certain charter rights temporarily. Okay, so the Charter of Rights and Freedoms is the thing I was thinking of. Branches, okay, divisions of power. So it's just setting things up. All right. So I think we've gone through enough of this for today. I wanted to go through another video looking at modern stuff. Let's see, what time do we got? You know what? I'm just gonna play a video game for a bit. I'll do that another day. Okay. Let's change this over to Overwatch. 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 Education to entertainment. Save. Let's make sure everything's gone through. All right. What's up? Let's see if this gives me any issues today. Yesterday it took some time to load. Nope. Going faster. Oh. Gonna have to look into this YouTube stuff. Whenever I end my stream, it's like trying to get me to go into some kind of editor. Alright, let's just do some competitive. Oh, 1 minute for all of them. Let's see what it gives me. I don't think I've played him ever. What did I get? I got damage. That's rare. Nobody wants to play Rasane. Rasane B.
Select your hero.
I don't really care. Let's just see. Everyone else does. Nobody else cares either. Alright. Cat, Sombra. They don't like her. Alright, that works for me. What were we? Were we attack or defense? Does it even tell you here? Ooh, I gotta get my keyboard back in a better spot. Blanker would probably be good. Well, he's got the shield.
The fire in my heart.
Maybe someone that can stay behind it.
Let's attack the enemy from the front and take them by surprise. Who is that? Bastion agrees with me.
Emote communication. Hey, that's a skin I don't think I've ever seen before. Is that the thing you gotta buy or weapon?
Attack commencing. Capture objective A. Stay focused.
Yeah, we got some. Get the healer. Ooh, somebody hit me. Oh, that's not good. lost our tank. We should pull back. Ooh, we got a kill though. Oh shit, there's a lot of them there. I mean, he's so big, he's easy to hit. Ah! I gotta move stuff here. I can't get my mic into a better place. Oh, nothing else going on. Good, we're good.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Nobody wants to sit in the payload. Oh. They changed their tank. I think he's worse at dealing with Bastion though, so. Is this thing playing music? I think so. Ooh, I want to be a part of that. Shoot even faster. Oh, where'd they all go? We killed them all. Okay. They've all pulled back. We're good. Am I gonna be? No, I'm not. Not short enough for that. Oh, almost had him there. I'm gonna go down. I'm too deep without healer support.
The payload is under my protection. Join.
Is there someone out over here? I'm pinging them.
It's go time.
Ooh, he was so low. Somebody got a kill there. Ooh, that was nice. Give me my heal. I mean, like, you gotta stop this, and he just ran past it. Like, ooh. That was her ult. I don't see her played a whole lot. So her ult sticks to the spot she's hit. And just does a large AoE on it. Ooh, he was low. He got healed a lot. I want to go up. Oh, he died before. He killed everyone. Ooh. We're so close. We're so close. They're all using their ults. I should have stayed behind him there. Behind our tank, Reinhardt. Oh, we've all died. Okay. Let's just wait up. Where does this go? Ooh, where was that? He's like over here.
It's go time.
Where's the person stopping us? Nowhere. Perfect. How'd we do? Oh.
3-0.
Top DPS, not bad, but that's kind of given for Bastion.
Prepare your defenses.
Let's try the metric. What are you talking about?
From imperfection, you feel a new world. This would be an evening to remember.
If you are a knight, should I call you Sir Wilhelm?
Yes! Finally, someone who understands!
Zone sector may have withdrawn, but I can't.
Who were
shake the
they? Who they
feeling
playing
there's
as
trouble
tank?
ahead.
They had the crystal guy.
5, 4,
Okay, we'll put one here,
1.
one here,
Attackers incoming.
one in there.
Objective A.
Let's get this done.
Oh, Junker Queen. She's really low, but so is our tank.
We are in harmony.
They both managed to pull back. Why do I got a speed boost? Oh, Juno. Two like melee characters going at it. No, 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 jump back, jump back. They got on my... Keep your shield up, keep your shield up. I don't have any of my... Oh, I might have had her if they didn't have support there. Okay, well I don't think that's gonna work. Let's go
I finish my projects.
May.
Come on, Snowball.
Objective lost. Stop the payload.
Both healers dead on the point. Let's go get the melt. Ooh.
Crusaders!
Oh. That seemed like a silly place for him to jump. He got their DPS, okay. There was somebody back here. Ouch. Yeah. He had that heal field he put down.
Keep pushing.
for another experiment.
Eva logging on.
Stop them from moving the payload.
Let's see if we can split them. Oh, did my ult not even go off because I died? That sucks.
搞科研就得不怕失败。
I was gonna try and ult and heal. What do I got? I got my jump. Got my wall. Oh. Alright, let's just go back to Bastion. The go-to. Ooh, that healer's really low back there. Oh, they're running. We're getting kills.
Back to basics.
What's the best way up there? Okay, I don't got my heal, so I've gotta stay in range of the healers.
Minor perk unlocked.
That. I got a healer right there. So does he. I'm taking a lot. Ooh, he's so low. They were all dead. Ooh, that's the tank coming up. I think the tank completely missed me there. Ooh. Okay, get my heal. We're doing really good on this last hold part. I don't know if I can get high ground again though. They're a little too close. Shit, I have no idea where that is. Oh. Heal. Oh, there's another one. Ooh, we barely lived through that. Oh. Let's stay on the point. I like to get the high ground up there first. Ah, that's a dangerous spot for them to be right there. No, don't kill me. You lost the point too. That's not good. That's not good. Looks like it's gonna go to overtime.
Score 3.
Ugh. Maybe try and defend as someone else. Did I ever change my stuff over to Overwatch? Remove the spitters. Oh, yeah. Auto mode have a message for a reason. Smart detection. Oh, that's the message. I see. I see how that works.
Null sector may have withdrawn, but I can't shake the feeling there's trouble ahead.
Defense. Do I even want this person for defense?
I really
Let's go.
need to get quieter, Boots. Powerful results.
So it does take 2 ammo. But it's got a much less spread on it.
Incoming. Defend objective A.
Oh! I mean, that was just a great move by our tank. Let me get a heal from somebody. Okay, I gotta stand still for our Anna. Let's come back. Okay, they're pushing in. Let's go up. Ooh, I am. Where's my healer? Healer! Healer! I was running at you, healers. They did it. They held. We're good. They got no progress at all. I mean, we need the tiniest bit of progress to win.
Switching sides.
Attack. Trying to flank this time.
The fire in my heart will never burn out.
More burn.
That should do it. One more mission.
Heal. 50 health each time.
You have learned well. I'm proud of you.
Heal.
Says if you have many aliases,
You want to use that when you start taking damage.
These days, being myself is exciting enough.
What's up? All it takes is a spar. They say
What's
work
that
smarter,
Lucio
not
skill?
harder, but why not do both?
Isaiah, keep it up.
He's not going to stand still.
What it takes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attack commence. Capture objective A.
I got that junk rat and the frickin' come on, let me get my. That does not go through there. Ooh. I did not see that trap. And the trap stops her E completely.
Fall in on me.
I gotta look out for that. He's good with those stupid spheres. Did I get a... Ooh. Ooh. I need to get back to heal. We don't have any healers. Okay.
I can heal you.
Yeah, I know, but I'm kind of in a bad fucking spot. I'll get some health. Ooh. Almost got the burn on her too. Is there a heal in there somewhere? I don't think there is. How close am I to the ult? I mean, we've gotten a couple kills. I think we need. He's gonna die here too. There we go. There we go. Whew. That's what I like to see. The other DPS. Do we have a good healer? Oh, this is the earlier one. I mean, both healers were good, but
This
Kiriko is performing. Winning trend, uphill battle, victory. Uphill battle? What's that one? Ooh, a box. We only opened one earlier. Let's have a look. Some of the emotes. Oh, mark them all as seen. Okay. Gotta leave this up to the chat. Tank, yeah. Usually when you pick them all, you get tank a lot. Is he gonna?
select your hero.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Select heroes to ban.
What's the camera doing? Oh. You. Everything seems to be going well with the stream side of things. I wanted to look at. Can I? What does this? Unstable. Average stream bitrate too high. I'm gonna have to ask, probably, some kind of AI about that. Like, you think that the bitrate was too high, like, wouldn't that be better? Kick say that too? Kick says nothing like that.
Have peace at any cost.
Outfit is charging. Weather report. Lots of sun.
Okay, I gotta focus. We have to attack.
Research.
I picked this map. It's the 5-point map. Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ooh, that's a cool skin too. It's been a long time since I really
Mark.
played. It looks like I've done a lot of skins.
We are all
Gonna take the main. Oh, it's this point. Give me that alt charge on the big boy. He's got. Did she jump onto the point? No, she did not. I got 1 second. When you got a mercy, you gotta start focusing the mercy. I mean, I think we're just gonna kill him. Ah! Punch you in the face. Pull back, he's running away. Just let him. There's the big boy. I mean, that was on point. He just... It's just so much free alt charge to aim for the big guy. Yeah, you're just coming on here, aren't you? What do I got? I got this. Come on. I got my ult if I need it. I don't want to have to use it here though, because we're winning. We won. Okay. I could save my ult for the next one. I'm gonna use that.
Not be ready for us.
Which way? We gotta go that way. Let's go. He's gonna try and pull someone into the... Ooh, he got so low. And there goes their tank. Did they get the person that was behind us? I don't think I seen a kill. But it looks like, I mean, they're being aggressive. Is there someone on the point? I think they got it back. I gotta counter their tank. She's probably gonna try and ult. Ooh.
This ends now.
I kind of thought. I thought they were gonna try and push in there.
My strength will be yours.
No, they're gonna give this one up easy. They changed tank finally.
You are safe with me. I have been restored. You are
I mean, somebody's getting these people low. I haven't used my ult yet.
I will give you shelter.
She's so low. I ran. Come on. Stop playing Ring Around the Rosie. I'm not gonna ult here. Not a great ult, but I mean, we're crushing them.
Poison.
And throw this up there for me. No, he took a lot of damage and had to ult out of that. We have... Who the heck is back there? Just being a... Oh, that's the fire chick. Alright, they're going this way. I'm gonna come this way. Come on! Yeah! Oh, that was a quick game. Which bad play MX? Yeah, I mean, he was doing good. May did a lot of damage too. I got a lot of eliminations. Alright, well, I think I'm gonna jump off for the night. I'm gonna try and figure out this YouTube stuff. Great, well, thanks for watching. I'll probably be back on Monday. It looks like I got some more, might be another day or two of the Canadian stuff before I move on to looking at the US democratic system. I need to have a good base to compare it to, you know. I was happy about all the financing rules Canada has. I mean, I know like the financial system will always try to find ways around them, but having them is definitely better than not. So anyway, have a good night. Hope you come and check out the stream again. I gotta stop the stream.